Okay, so I'm not too sure where I left off last time, but I ended up taking the inner clutch cover off, and this is what I gotta take off, is just that bolt right there, and I should be able to get at this big ass nut. And I'm not too sure what's on the other side, but kind of figure it out as we go. Alright, so I got the cover off of this thing that's holding it in place, got this bolt loose, and I was looking some things up, and you really want to make sure that your nuts are tight first of all, unless it's really bad, because if they aren't torqued properly, that could cause a bit of play, I guess. And yeah, so this thing, I ended up having to buy a fucking huge ass socket set, expensive thing. 1 5/8" is what the bolt was, and for this side, you do have to take all of this shit off. Sorry about the bad lighting and whatnot, but these two bolts you gotta take off, and one down in the bottom you can't really see, and I think there's one more up behind the plastics. And yeah, so get those off, and you gotta take another one of those covers that hold the nut in place off in there, and go at it with your socket wrench, and hopefully a pair of channel locks will grab the one in behind there. Kinda hard to see. And yeah, so here's where we're at now. This side's all off. Took the plastics off because it was a pain in the ass to get at everything. And then I got this side all apart. Got the bolts out and everything. Can't see that. Where's my treble light? One sec. Got the bolts out. Looking in there, it's all nice for the most part and whatnot. Just can't get my shock out now. Shock seems to be stuck in there. Got the top out, got the bottom out. Couldn't really see what was going on. That's why I took the plastics off. Hopefully now I got a bit more room. Kind of see up in there. That bolt up there is being a bitch for me. That one I've been pounding on and it doesn't seem to want to get out. Seems like the bolt got bent from it being on the suspension and being so much force beating on it all the time. So might end up having to cut that thing to get it out, but hopefully not. Okay, so once both bolts were out, felt like something was hung up here. Sitting here yanking on the thing, seeing if there's a bushing or something stuck in there. Nothing was in there. I can feel something on the left side of the quad, but I don't think it was hanging it up. Anyways, after getting frustrated for a little bit here, I just began to start yanking on the bitch, and yeah, just popped right out for me. Old bearings down, or bushings down here. I know that's the big nut. I'm actually not too sure where the bushings are. Okay, fucking success here at last. Ripped the fucking thing out finally. Came out of there. Thing looks so funny, I just flipped it back because I couldn't get the shock off. Don't have to if you don't want to, I guess. Got my new bushings to go in. Probably should clear out some of this old grease. Nice new bushing. Other side, you still gotta take off a bolt. And then I got my other two new bushings for that side. I guess one goes on each side of it. But yeah, I'll get back to you when that's done. See how she goes. Should be all easy from now on. Alrighty, so I got the new bushings all put in. Wasn't too hard. I just used some channel locks. Slowly eased them in. Used the mallet. Tapped her in gently. Yeah, went in pretty smoothly. Now I'm just gonna grease her all back up as I go. It's a very good idea, just in case it's a lot harder to get to the nipples and whatnot when you're doing it later on. Right now is the easiest time you'll have, pretty much. Alright, so I got the swing arm back in the thing. The only, one thing that you really gotta look for is what way the bolts are facing as you're putting it in, because there's little blockers inside that hold the nut, so you can just tighten up the big bolts without having anything on the back side. It was a bit of a hassle, but it's not too hard. Just kind of look at it, and for the most part I found the nut should be somewhat in line with the swing arm. Same thing for each side. My right side was a bit harder to do than the left. But yeah, get her in, tighten it up, and I read online that it should be torqued to 150 foot-pounds of torque, but I don't have a torque wrench in foot-pounds, only inch-pounds, so I'm just gonna put Loctite on everything and tighten it as much as I possibly can. Hopefully it doesn't come undone, and yeah, should be pretty much done now for that. Just gotta do the axle bearing next, which, if you can see in here, there's a piece of the old bearing still in there. The new ones come with the same piece, bearing's already inside it. Don't know exactly yet if it's that big of a deal if I just leave that thing out, because that's stuck in there. I'm gonna really just see how much play they have, because the one side was fine. It's mainly just this side right here. This was the worst side, the one the bearing just fell apart when I took it out. So I don't know, it might just fit right in there, looking like it does. So grease the shit out of your bearings, fill your axle housing with a shitload of grease, because there's a lot in there. Or you could just use your grease gun. That works a lot better, actually. Yeah, I'll get back to you when I got that done, see how it goes. Alright, so ended up leaving these new pieces out. The old ones I think are fine, because my axle just had a tiny bit of play when I wanted to change the bearings. Just time, I think. But anyways, I was looking at it, can't really see. I'll get my travel light, 1 second. Alright, so if you can see in here, can't really see that well, but there's a bit of play with the bearing, and I was looking at the sprocket, and it's got that thing. So once that's all on there, it'll hold the bearing exactly where it should be. So I was a bit worried about that, thinking that I lost a piece that came out or something, or didn't get the full kit. But everything is here, everything's fine. Just make sure when you put your axle in, I'm gonna wait, just make sure you fill this whole housing up with a shitload of grease. I had to clean out a lot. You will too when your axle's out. It's a good idea to change everything and make sure your axle housing isn't all scored up or nothing. And yeah, I'll get back when the axle's in. Okay, one quick thing before you put your axle in. Make sure you got it the right way. These things look like they're the exact same, but this one right here is slightly different than that one. So make sure that the one that has no space between like your rust mark and your splines, that one, like what looks like that, is on the side that has the sprocket. Because if you look, the sprocket's going to be right up against the housing, and it's got splines all the way down. This side has a bit of a gap, so I'm almost positive that's the way it's got to go. Alright, so finally got it all back together. It's been a bit of a hassle. I put the thing half together again. Well, I put it all back together and realized that I forgot one of those clips that was giving me trouble taking it apart. I forgot to put it back in on this side. So make sure you put that one in first, slide your sprocket on, and then you have to slide your axle through. And then once you do that, make sure your splines are all clean, because this one I messed up and the splines were a bit dirty and it was a pain in the ass to get back off. But once I cleaned it, it went back on fine. And then you have to slide this thing on, tighten it all the way so that the groove on this side's showing, and then you have the clip for the other side. You throw that back on and you start loosening this nut. And then while this thing's loosening, it's pushing against the disc, and that will bring all the play away from your axle. As you can see, well, probably not really well in this, but my axle now has no play whatsoever. My swing arm has no play at all too. The thing is pretty much completely done. I just gotta throw the tires back on it, the brake caliper, and put the chain on and tension that to the right point. And yeah, good job, well done, I say. Alright, so everything's back on for the most part. This is as far as I'm going to go for right now, because I could put the belt back on and the clutch cover back on, but my belt's pretty worn out, so I'm going to get a new one of those. My hubs are back on too, and I'm just going to leave the tires off, because I got to leave the plastics off anyways. I'm going to be taking my floorboards off, just to see how rusty those things are. Fuck, got to paint them up, and yeah, I still got to take all my front plastics off, take it to the plastic doctor, get it all plastic welded. Hopefully it looks mint after. Anyways, sum it all up. If you want to change your swing arm bushings and your rear axle bearings and your scrambler, it's really not that hard. But don't be planning to drive your quad for the next week. Probably took me about 6 hours roughly to do the bushings and the rear axle bearings, and that's me not really knowing anything what I'm doing really. Looked a bit up online, but didn't really teach me too much. But for now, looking at it, no play whatsoever in it, and I'm pretty happy with that job. Anyways, I guess that's it. Till next time.